Houston, we have a problem.
I feel the need for speed. Ow!
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
Help me help you.
You are a toy!
My team is dead!
There's no crying in baseball!
Relax. This pot is making you aggressive.
Wilson!
You complete me.
Hello and welcome back to We Bought a Mic, a pop culture podcast, a bloodsucker podcast, covering all things,
Hey, a something sucker, you know, these fucking guys.
all things movie, TV, music, and warm, gooey, gay blood. We love it.
Mm-hmm.
We love to see it. Welcome. This is the return to our series on the films of Tom Cruise and Tom Hanks. It's called Tom v. Tom, A Tale of Two Toms, Cruisemas with the Hanks. Today, we're talking about Interview with the Vampire, The Vampire Chronicles, 1994.
Mm-hmm.
Starring Mr. Tom Cruise, Mr. Brad Pitt. The only film they made together, which is
Tragic.
very shocking.
Really?
I can't imagine them getting along.
Like on set.
Yeah, it just doesn't. They don't make sense to me as like homies.
Welcome.
Two strong personalities.
My name's Ernest.
I'm Drew, and joining us, it's a guy who would not have to wear a wig in order to be in Interview with the Vampire.
As soon as I saw the hair in this movie, I was like, oh God, I think I know why Ray picks this one. Welcome back, Ray.
Thank you. Well, super stoked to be here to talk about this gay-ish movie.
Yeah, this very
gives us tone,
90s, very erotic, very hot and sexy, steamy movie.
Mm-hmm.
No Hunter. He went to Las Vegas and he said that there was like a pale guy that wanted to tell him about his life story in the bayou.
Mm.
And we haven't heard from him since. So I think everything should be fine.
Yeah, no, that happened to me once, and it was only like, I don't know. I think he's being dramatic. It only took me like 3 hours. I got in and
To
out.
get this guy to just like tell you
Yeah,
about everything
fucking-
that's ever happened
Yeah,
to
this
him.
fucking neurodivergent guy.
Yeah. Oh, you're
Waiting for the damn
250 years old. Boo. No, Hunter, he fell off a mountain. We hope he's okay.
Yeah, he did in fact fall off a mountain and tear his whole ACL and get surgery yesterday, literally.
He's doing fine.
So
He's recovering. They put some Antonio Banderas special in his IV drip, I believe.
mm-hmm.
They just went ahead and snuck that in there for special healing purposes. So he's gonna be okay.
Did you see,
The kid's gonna be okay.
He posted a picture of it in a group chat we're in, and he said, "Does this look infected?" And and then Harry's wife Diana, who's a nurse, like chimed in to be like, "Is it red? Does it feel warm? Is it oozing anything?" And I was like, "Unfortunately, I think he is just quoting Psalm 41." and that is what he was doing. He wasn't worried at all about it being infected.
That's great. All right, Ray. So I'm so happy to have you back. You were on our previous series. So for Robin, you did Robots, and for Cage, you did Face Off. So a little bit of a spotty record there. You know, a little bit of a coin toss with those in terms of it. You know, if people out there like their communist uprisings, that's great. Like that is the movie for you. And if people out there like their films about two gay dads raising their lesbian daughter, this might be the movie for you. Mm-hmm. So I kind of want to hear, Ray, about why you chose this movie. Did you have like a backstory with it? Were you just curiously perusing the options and this one stood out? Like, what made you want to pick this one from all? Because, you know, we have two actors to choose from. This is a double stack series, a lot more choices. Did you want to go for a Cruise rather than a Hanks? Why was this the pick?
Well, honestly, like I was surprised. I really wanted to get Mission Impossible too, because it's like an insane movie. And I
Another
just, like,
hair
just love it.
movie. Lots of hair
Yeah,
in that
yeah.
movie.
Exactly. But no, this one honestly, I grabbed it just because thought it was like really surprised it was still available. Like all the other ones, I was like, oh wait, this nobody wants this. Like to me, I feel like this movie's like kind of a classic because honestly, I didn't even know until you said it. But yeah, this is the only time I guess Pitt and Cruise work together, and it's just like you're still good in it. You know what I mean? It's just like you can tell like maybe they weren't cool with each other, but it looks like everybody was like just having like a shit ton of fun. It was like almost like a play the whole time, and you can just tell people are just like just playing it up, almost like just giving a little extra ham to it, and it just like really worked for what they're doing.
Yeah, it does. It has play vibes, especially in the first half of it before things like go really sideways.
It's very literate.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I said when we were watching it is I was like, this is such a book. Like just the way that they're speaking and the level of narration you're getting from Brad Pitt.
We should say Anne Rice is adapting her own book. Like this,
Exactly,
she
yeah.
wrote the screenplay based on her own novel. So this is very much, it's like isn't that what happened with Gone Girl? The Gillian Flynn?
Yeah, and similar to Gone Girl, because any Fincher movie, he is doing a rewrite of that script most of the time. There's a lot of really fun trivia with this movie. Because and this book was a hit in like the 70s. In like 76 the book came out. Immediately they try to adapt it. It ends up in like production hell for a long ass time. And then it gets attached to this dude. Sorry, who's the director?
Neil Jordan,
who had just done The Crying Game, which was a smash hit in like 92, I want to say. He says, all right, I'll do this, but only if I get to rewrite the script. So he rewrote the script, actually. He just didn't get a credit for it. But this is sort of this is like his final pass on her initial rewrite. And it's a very interesting movie. Casting wise, one of the other funny things is Anne Rice was so dead against Tom Cruise being Lestat.
It's such a wild choice. Like, I guess we can get into it now at the top, but like one of the things I said when we watched this, I was like, it makes almost no sense that he did this. Like at this point, he had already been nominated for an Oscar for Born on the 4th of July. He'd done Top Gun. He'd done The Firm and Rain Man and The Color of Money. Like, on paper, this should be one of the movies you make before you make all those movies.
But he wants to spread his wings. He wants to
his bat wings.
He wants to show what he can really do. He wants to show some range, I'm sure. And Neil Jordan, super hot commodity at the time. This book still, had some sauce behind it, produced by David Geffen. Like, This movie had juice behind it. It had budget. It made a ton of money. It was a really big success. And it was
60 million budget, 223 million box office.
Yeah. So I think he just got on board. He was like, yeah, I'll be like the sassy kind of twink one. And then Brad Pitt can be like the
boring one.
the more like brooding, the more brooding, like parently, and also
he's the dad.
He's also Brad Pitt is like uncomfortably hot in this movie. Like it was every time I couldn't even look at him directly. It was like
the hair is
I was
unfair.
about to say, yeah. Anytime he has like he himself has like longer hair, because I've actually been watching just like a couple of his and Tom Cruise movies just like coincidentally. Just in like the ones I've been watching recently.
From this era, like 90s era?
Yeah. Yeah. And like whenever honestly either of them have like shoulder length or longer hair, I'm like, oh, okay. Now they're really doing something now.
It is, yeah, it's crazy. And this is pre Brad Pitt being like particularly famous.
This is the year before Seven.
Yeah, he had just done like Thelma and Louise.
Yeah, Legends of the Fall comes out the same year as this, so it's starting to happen for him.
Yeah, but like when he's filming this, like he's not famous yet.
He's just like a god. He's like a chiseled god.
I know. And you think that he's bringing all the hotness, and then later on we'll get to it, but Antonio fucking Banderas shows up.
God.
And you're like, oh my God. They're so close to kissing so many different times. But yeah, so we start off with just this two-hander of Cruz and Pitt.
But
before that, we're really getting framed by Christian Slater, who was in his own right seen as a hot boy in the the later 80s. Maybe a little bit before this movie dropped. This role was supposed to go to River Phoenix.
Yeah, the movie is dedicated to him.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Did you catch that in the credits? It's like there's a in memory of River Phoenix credit or something like that.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the interviewer of the vampire.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
I could definitely see.
Guy died. Guy passed. But yeah, it starts like knowing its tone. You know what I mean? Like it starts like absolutely moody as fuck and like super serious. It's like, no, we're going to be really sullen.
Yeah, but I think I'm trying really hard to put myself in the mindset of someone in the 90s, because I think that watching this now, there is a certain level of remove to the film. It took me a while to get into the vibe of the movie. And I think that by the time Kirsten Dunst comes in, like I'm way more on board. But I think that it's hard to take this movie seriously because it's trying so hard to take itself so seriously. It feels like the movie's not having any fun for the first 15, 20 minutes. I don't know how you feel about that, right? Do you agree with that? Do you feel like it's kind of a little too serious for the opening chunk?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely because you can, I mean, just how with the length of it as well, like you can really feel it. Once it's over, you're like, okay, yeah. Slow start, almost like the beginning of a season of a show where they're like trying to figure out what they're trying to do. And then it's just like, once the ball gets rolling though, you're like, oh shit, I'm locked in. I'm loving these characters. I'm actually worried about what's going to happen to them now. They're not just like pretentious, weird killers. Like it's cool how they just kind of like, they just hook you in, which is kind of appropriate with it being, a whole vampire tale. It's like, they kind of trick you into liking them.
I think that the thing I locked into the most is you could tell that the budget was on the screen. This whole, like, I guess it's New Orleans, right? We're in New Orleans. You can tell they put a lot of work into realizing this whole setting. And the entire sequence of Brad Pitt being turned into a vampire, I thought was very, very effective.
Erotic.
Yeah, very erotic. It's just, these boys are on top of each other. I think they're craving.
I think up until that point, what I struggled with was like, I didn't like Brad Pitt yet. And you really kind of need to in order to care what's happening.
It's like he looks beautiful, but that's kind of
it's just when it starts, he's just like, when he's talking to Christian Slater, he's like, yeah. And then like, it cuts back to like his past life as a human. He's like, yeah, I didn't give a fuck about shit. I was suicidal. I think I kind of missed the part where he talks about how like his like wife and kid died.
It's like so quick though. It's like barely mentioned. He's like, yeah, I had a wife, kid, they died. I'm really sad about it.
Yeah, because it really feels like he flashes back and he's like playing cards with some guy and he's like, shoot me, you fucking idiot. like. And it's like, God, this guy, why is he such a bummer? Like, why does he crave death so hard?
And very quickly, we start seeing those obscure shots of Tom in the darkness watching.
I was getting really big Nightman Cometh vibes from the way Tom was looking at him.
And you see that nose. You see the profile of that nose in the shadows, and you're like, this is our boy, this is our guy.
Yeah. And one of the first things I wrote down we have two things going on with the way Tom looks in this movie. Really, more than actually, I take that back. There are a lot of things to say here. When we're introduced to him, the thing that made me gasp, I was like, they made him blonde.
It's insane.
It doesn't work for him. Like he to dye his eyebrows blonde, you've lost like the main thing about his face.
Yeah,
like he looks so like nasty and like depressing, and I don't know. He looks so hideous compared to Brad right next to him.
I thought it was a little inconsistent too. Like there are some shots where it's better than others, where you could tell like on definitely. That day they really put way more work into the makeup and the wig.
Yeah. Well, and the wig they gave him is like kind of like frizzy. It's like he's dyed his hair too many times. Like he has a lame do.
The other thing too is like he's acting opposite Brad Pitt. I think that's one of the biggest like hangups of this duo is like Tom cannot compete.
Do you think?
No, yeah.
Do you guys think?
Brad looks like perfect.
Oh, I thought you meant like acting wise.
No, look wise.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
Just physically.
Yeah, because Tom was never like the hottest hunk on earth, but like, especially we're rounding the corner. We're in the 90s now.
I mean, performance-wise, Tom Cruise pops the fuck off in this movie. He has some absolutely killer scenes.
Yeah, and Brad is still finding his footing, I would say,
He's
as an actor.
Wandering around.
I love what Cruise is doing in this movie. I love Lestat.
Yeah, he's nuts.
He's nuts. He's so insane. He's such a little piece of shit.
So,
like the way he like the paleness mixed with the blondness of him, though, it's just like it's too much. It's just like
exactly. He's so washed out.
Guy.
Like it's the first time I've really seen age on his face because he just looks washed out. The second note about what's going on here, costume wise, him and Brad Pitt both have to wear fangs. Obviously,
they're tough.
They're tripping up Tom Cruise more than they do Brad Pitt because Tom Cruise doesn't have a lot of room in his mouth. He's already got a whole big old set of fake teeth in there, and he's adding another on top. Brad Pitt's got like the biggest fucking jaw in the world. He can fit some extra stuff in there. And so like there are some lines, especially early on, where he's almost like mumblecore.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense.
Ray, we were commenting because we watched this together, but we were commenting a lot about like the shape of their like jaw and their skull. Did you clock that? Like when you see them on camera together next to each other, you can just tell by looking at them.
We were doing phrenology on them.
You could just
the calipers on the screen.
Yeah.
Pause it.
How much limited Tom is to Brad.
Brad Pitt invented mewing.
And this is also like him throwing his kids around and his wife. So it's like you can really like go on him, like, being like, this is a good guy. He's a cool guy.
He had his whole life ahead of him, man.
Yeah. He spends this whole movie mogging Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Sometimes I do wonder though, when you see Tom Cruise in a role like this, like how close is this to the real Tom Cruise? How much how much human blood is he drinking every day to remain, quote unquote human, and not a disgusting, like withered ghoul.
There are definitely Scientology parallels here, particularly like if Brad Pitt is Katie Holmes and Kirsten Dunst is Suri.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's their kid's name.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, why did you drag us into this life? And he's like, yeah, but don't you see, now you matter.
Right.
Now you'll live forever.
Underground society, exclusive clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Paris.
I mean, honestly, this also has like watching it. Like, I feel like somebody who's never seen this before, and you watch it now, especially with how some people are now, they'll be like, "See, they're telling us what they do. This is the Hollywood elites. He's bringing them into his society. He's emasculating him by like making him gay, making him wear all this weird frilly clothes."
Yeah,
and then they're just
and then
pumping around.
Yeah, and then they shoot up adrenochrome.
Yeah,
that's what they show
Kidnap
right
kids.
off camera.
Kidnap kids, right?
Honestly, yeah.
I want to get to Kiki in a second because I think she is absolutely phenomenal in this movie. But right before we get there, basically the plot as it progresses is Brad Pitt is pissed that he's been turned into a vampire. He hates it. He does not like it. He's trying to go along with it.
He consented.
Tom is like trying to invite him into some threesome situations. He's not really vibing with it.
Here's another thing about Pitt, by the way, that sort of took away from a bit of the me caring about his character. He's really quickly upfront introduced as like a young slave master.
There's that whole uprising.
Yeah, he's like, I was a 24-year-old, your run-of-the-mill slave master. I was on the up and up.
Slater's like, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Literally,
can we go back to that for a second?
Yeah, his entire cohort of slaves is on the verge of like a giant uprising that really, once it happens, it doesn't come back. It's just over with.
How did that even happen?
Because
it because he ate the chickens?
Yeah, I think it was because they all could tell that Tom Cruise had bad vibes.
There was some shit going down.
Yeah, and
some like demonic shit going down.
And Tandy Newton, who's
got preyed on.
Yeah, he creeps on her, and like it's like vaguely, all the vampire stuff is always going to be erotic. The entire point of the vampire myth is like, it is a metaphor for like sin in like a religious world, like a Christian religious world. So yeah, it's going to be the first scene, like 15 minutes in where Tom, where he feeds Brad the blood is like so sexual. It's insane.
The faces that he's making as he's drinking it.
Yeah.
Just the longing for every little drop, every drip. It's just, he's like orgasming as it's happening. It's insane.
And things get maybe things do get a little muddy once he starts doing that to young Kirsten Dunst. Maybe, just maybe.
So, Ray, what are your thoughts on everything leading up to the introduction of Kirsten? So basically, like, Brad's been turned into a vampire. He's struggling with it. There's the slave revolt. The house burns down. I think that there's a little bit in there about how Brad doesn't want to kill. And Lestat is like, you gotta kill.
That's what we do. It's just part of the game. I mean, honestly, okay, rewatching it now, though, I feel like I caught myself being kind of old because when he's like burning down his mansion, first of all, it's all mega practical. Like,
it looks
great. You see him like torching every bit, but like curtains, everything is so nice, dude. I was like,
yeah,
god damn, what a waste. But it looks cool as shit.
He's got so much great shit. And then like later on, not that long later, he gets it. He has another nice mansion.
Yeah. And it like burns down again.
What does he do? How does he get so rich?
Oh yeah, what do you think? We were trying to figure this out. I think that he just preys upon rich people, kills them, and then just takes all their money.
I mean, yeah, that'd be what Cruise would get him to do. I don't know. It's so weird that Cruise like is obsessed with going after like the aristocracy. You know what I mean? Like that's how you get caught, brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have a whole category on what would you do.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get into all that.
I think Brad Pitt, his character is really good at like drop shipping stuff from like Rakuten.
All right. Any other thoughts on everything before we're introduced to Kirsten? I guess thoughts on the introduction to Kirsten, like this whole plague situation. She's a young girl.
Well,
her mom is dead.
Yeah, I mean, in that, there's all like the sex vampire scenes. Like, we got to talk about when he bites that lady's tit.
Oh my god!
And she's into it, and then she looks down and realizes she's bleeding to death.
That was so crazy.
That was good.
Definitely, like really leaning into the sexual stuff. That's something. I don't know if this should be like a whole section of this episode, but like, just vampire stories in general are always very horny, very, very horny. I mean, obviously, like Twilight is the big one of our generation. I don't really engage with that too much or at all, honestly. But I watched Bram Stoker's Dracula recently, with Gary Oldman, Keanu Reeves. And that is one of the horniest movies I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah.
So
Well,
there's just so many scenes devoted to this.
funny enough, like the very first Dracula movie that came out, like back in, like 40s or whatever, 30s,
Yeah.
like they was so new, like the whole genre, like the concept of it was all so new. Like it was marketed as a scary like romance movie because it didn't have horror back then. So like it's always like kind of been associated with that anyways. And also just with like how the way vampires work themselves, it's just like you're getting either blood from like the neck or your like wrist, something about that is just also just like sensual in itself.
Yeah.
Like,
Human.
it's kind of hard to not make
fluids.
it sexual, Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then there's all these other subgenres throughout the years, right? And that goes back to my point about trying to put myself in the mindset of someone in 1994, because I feel like Twilight is one thing, but we've had so many other iterations of vampires since 1994. It's 30 years now. Like, to me, one of the biggest ones is What We Do in the Shadows. That movie, that series, like that has elements of sexuality and horniness, but that is a straight up just comedy. That's not a romantic thing. Bram Stoker's Dracula is very much just like this twisted, tragic romance. That's kind of like the core of that movie. When you look at something like What We Do in the Shadows, romance is not the main thing. And even things like Blade, and like Underworld, those are like action vampire movies. So in the 30 years since Interview, I feel like vampire stories have become so stratified in the culture that core of sexuality, sensuality, sin, all of that has kind of gotten a little watered down. So to go back and watch this, I think that audiences maybe went into this movie expecting a lot of this stuff and wanting it and really feeling like that was part of the package of what this, they weren't really shocked when when there's someone going down on a titty and then it starts bleeding. It's like, oh, this is what we came here to see. So then we're introduced to Kirsten Dunst as Claudia. She's a small young girl, left alone, and Louis decides that he's gonna chomp. He needs to feed, and things don't go quite well, and Lestat has to turn her into a vampire, and her hair gets curly.
Yeah, the second she turns, she gets curly ass hair. Looks like a little doll.
Yeah,
love to see that. She stays a child forever.
Yeah, and this is when the movie turns, right? And the one thing we said is they had a kid to save the marriage, right? Like things weren't going too well for Lestat and Louis, as a pair.
So Lestat,
but now that Claudia's in the picture,
Lestat's
are
like,
great.
Well, what do you want me to let her fucking die, buddy? or are we gonna raise this girl?
Yeah,
we're gonna raise her right. And then it becomes like an absolute vibe for a good while there. Like it's like the episode where SpongeBob and Patrick raise the little clan.
Yeah, it's great. The movie finds a really good sense of humor in this stretch. I feel like this is some of my favorite Tom stuff because he really kind of disappears in the second half. But I love this dynamic. I love Tom being the mom, Brad being the stoic, aloof dad.
It reminded me, speaking of Kirsten Dunst, it reminded me a lot of The Power of the Dog. The way Benedict Cumberbatch is, just an absolute vibe ruiner for everyone else in this old house. They're like, God damn it, he's pissing me off.
The little gay boy
playing the piano.
Yeah. What do you think of Kirsten Dunst in this movie, Ray?
So I said this in my Letterboxd review, but she's like insanely good in this. Probably like the best performance in it.
I think so.
That like it makes me, because I'm like anti-child actor.
Oh hell yeah, let's
for like
go.
forever. Like I think they should, like, the only good thing we should be using AI for is to replace kid actors. Because usually they suck, and two, they get like their life ruined. So it's like a lose-lose really for like everybody.
Mhm.
But
That's
Kirsten
such a
Dunst in
great
this
take.
is like maybe we should do it. Maybe we should let him do it because she's so good, dude. Like, goddamn, it's just like let the
It's
10-year-old act.
Yeah, and
'Cause she's like 12ish in this.
she had never done shit before either.
I
Before
think
this,
this might have been her first.
yeah, she got like
major role.
she was like 10 and she got like scouted somewhere, and apparently she was the first person that they looked at for the part, and they went on to look at like thousands of other people, and they were like, damn, it was that fucking one girl who hasn't done shit before. She just was like so good.
I
Dude, yeah, she's
love her in this movie. I would have given her an Oscar nomination. I'm about to look up what the Oscars were this year. I guess this was the Forrest Gump year, which we're about to
Yeah.
cover. Did they put what's her name?
Robin Wright,
Robin Wright in there?
probably. I don't know. I would have given her something because she is. I think she's the best part. At the very least, her character is just the best part of the movie. Like when she comes in, she really ties everything together. She has like way more of a reachable like emotional core than these fucking guys do, than Tom and Brad.
Yeah, when she starts to really question her vampireness and like get upset about it, it's way more than we saw from fucking Brad Pitt.
Mhm.
Like it is so much more expressive and just overtly emotional.
Because he was already like fucking emo
Right.
before.
He was like, oh,
Yeah. So now he's like,
I'm
oh
sad.
no, I can't even kill myself.
It's funny. I was the night we watched this, the night we put this on, I was supposed to go see Civil War, the the new Kirsten Dunst movie, and I didn't, and I saw this instead, and I was like, oh, I guess I did end up seeing a Kirsten Dunst movie after all. She's been in so much stuff. I mean, when you look at her
that
filmography,
range.
it's crazy how much stuff she's been in. But yeah, this is essentially her first major role. And then she pops up in a bunch of little things here and there. Remember, she's in Jumanji, a movie we covered. Yeah, definitely would have given her the Oscar. This movie was actually nominated for 2 Oscars: art direction and music, which the music I feel like it's really good, but it kind of hit me as like a little 90s, you know?
I don't know if it was just the mixing on your TV, but that shit was loud.
It was so loud.
it was piped up in the mix. So for certain moments, I was like, this is a little much. Like this is a whole lot of music coming at me. I mean, I like the orchestral thing though. You know, let's bring it back. Let's do that a little more.
So
I mean,
guess she would go ahead.
Do you guys see who did the music for this?
Who?
Because I had to look it up because I was like, after like the second like really big like song in it, I was like, who is this? Because I'm like, it reminds me of like almost like Tim Burton kind of thing. But I looked it up, and this guy did Batman Forever and Batman and Robin.
Nice.
Say what you want
yeah.
about those movies. Those music is fucking good. And he also did Heat.
Heat, baby.
Heat.
Let's go.
That's why
Elliot
it's so fucking loud.
Goldenfall. Right, exactly. He was like, no, we gotta crank this up.
Yeah, just turn that up.
I was just gonna say real quick. So for the Oscars this year, I guess she would have gone in supporting. Supporting this year went to Diane Wiest for Bullets Over Broadway, which is definitely something we all know. The other nominees were Helen Mirren, Jennifer Tilly, Rosemary Harris, and Uma Thurman for Pulp Fiction. Yeah, I would slot her in. Put her in there.
It should have been her
Put the
versus
girl in
Natalie
there.
Portman for Leon. That would have been nuts. 2 little kids just fucking duking it out.
Oh,
for an
was
Oscar.
that this year too? Oh, the Leon de Profesional. That I have such complicated feelings on that movie.
Yeah, on the one hand, you're turned on, but
Because that's a good movie, but it's like I don't think this should have been made.
I have a breaking update. Um, so we're recording this on Thursday. Some big news broke earlier today. My dad just texted my mom, my dad, and my sister. So like this chat with all of us. He just texted. He said in all caps, RIP dot and then space OJ.
Oh, he just got the news just now at like 8
He got his
p.m.
finger on the pulse, dude.
He probably turned on like CNN or Fox News or something, and they're just running the Chiron. He's like, "What?"
No, I know.
He didn't get the New York Times alert.
I know he's not. I know he's not going to bat for OJ, but he does in fact mourn the loss.
He probably typed that up like 6 hours ago, and he was like, I think I might
He's like,
send
as
this.
a player, RIP. As a person,
Yeah,
watch for
OJ, the football player?
oh,
The Bronco driver? RIP Nicole Brown. That's what I would say.
Killer's still out there. We got to get him.
That's what I was I was gonna say. Like, oh, we still I guess we still don't, we'll never know.
This is so I want to give a shout out to Hunter. Hunter really successfully used this OJ tactic the other day when we were playing golf. He hit a ball straight through this guy's screened in porch. And the guy came out and was like, you must have done that. and
There's no one else on this.
And Hunter genuinely did like the hot dog sketch guy. Like he did that like, listen, I'll help you find whoever did it, but I'm sure it just wasn't me. It worked. It was so awesome.
He's like trying to put on the golf glove.
Yeah.
And it doesn't fit. If I would have hit the ball here, this glove would have fit.
He hits it. He hits a good shot with it. He's like, see, I hit good shots with that ball. Oh man. Anyway,
Get better soon, Hunter.
yeah.
All right. So I guess at this point, it's getting to the point where Claudia is like really struggling. Like the years are going by, right? Like the decades are going by. And she is just like, I cannot handle being a prepubescent girl and living decades, right? Like she's essentially like a 40-year-old woman trapped in a little girl's body. And I think that that's part of what makes this performance so good is that you can tell the anguish.
Yeah, because like a lot of years go by. She's like 50 at one point, basically.
Yeah.
Stuck in this little girl's body. And like, by the way, she's just been living with Brad and Tom this whole, like for 40 years. She's like, what a miserable life.
Another thing I really like is the contrast of like Brad could not kill a single person and she cannot stop killing. Like she's just murdering so many people.
Really great little montage of her killing people, and then Lestat being like, "Could you have a little? Who's gonna hem your dress?"
That's so good. Tom,
He's just cleaning up after her, like literally like, shoving bodies.
Yeah. Well, so this is what I was gonna say is so Anne Rice was super fucking against him getting cast, and then she said the second she saw him on like screen, she was like, "That's my Lestat.
Let's go."
Yeah, she was like, "That's my fucking
go,
guy.
dude."
No one's immune. No one's immune. See that boy with long hair? It's like, okay, let him do his thing.
It's just the energy he brings to this is incredible because it's just like, again, I don't know why he. Like from a logical career perspective, like take artistry out of it, it doesn't make sense that he did this, but I'm so glad that he did because he is popping off the screen in this movie. And yeah, the hair is questionable and the teeth is questionable and like, some of that stuff is a little shaky, but
whatever. We had not had a vampire movie get budget before.
Right.
They were in uncharted territory as to what to do with all this money. And they really, because also this book is like really fat, I'm pretty sure. Like it's a huge ass book. So they had a lot of shit to cover. And so I ended up almost kind of appreciating how it chooses to sort of take its time, like getting where it's going, because it's really like it's like a Gone Girl style, like 3 different movies that we're watching here. Because once we get past Kirsten Lestat and Louis living in harmony, quote unquote, shit gets even crazier. Like it goes balls to the wall like really fast.
Well,
it becomes like more traditional horror toward the end there.
Well, they kill Lestat. That was one of the craziest scenes.
Mm-hmm.
They fucking poison his ass.
She does
Got
really
baited with little boys.
Yeah, with and who among us wouldn't? 2 little twin boys, ripe for the full of absinthe.
Yeah. God, I miss you, Jeffrey. Take me back.
Can't help but chomp. Just an honest mistake. And it cost him everything.
Yeah, I thought that was cool as fuck. She got him with something that keeps the blood warm.
Yeah.
He's like, what the fuck?
The effect of like all the blood spilling out and him lying there,
hella
lifeless,
blood, so much blood.
It's I love that. That was so cool. They did a great job with that sequence.
Yeah, and Kirsten's like, pick me up.
Fucking ruin that awesome rug too. The whole time I'm looking at that rug, it's just like, you're not getting that out of there. That's a good ass rug too. It's so big.
So much fucking blood.
I know.
You no matter how hard you try, you ain't getting all that blood out.
Yeah, and then
they go to Paris.
Yeah, they.
Don't
they basically set New Orleans on fire?
Okay,
leaving.
So they throw him in the fucking swamp.
Yeah,
and then they I guess there's something there where like they throw him in the swamp and then something happens and there's a fire. Oh, is that when he comes back? I guess what happens is, let me see if I can pull this up in the Wikipedia synopsis. They dump Lestat's body in a swamp.
Yeah,
They spend weeks planning a voyage to Europe to search for other vampires. Oh yeah, because at this point in the movie, she's getting really into researching like the occult.
Yeah, she's
really hitting the library.
She's really got all the time in the world here.
Right. Lestat returns on the night of their departure, having survived on the blood of swamp creatures. This is a great scene.
He looks fucked.
Yeah, he's so good, dude. He's so like just creepy and
he's like playing the piano. Man.
First confirmed case of twink death.
Yeah. And then he starts like crawling on the walls and shit as it's burning down.
Yeah, hell yeah.
He attacks them and then they set everything on fire. And that's when they escape on the boat. And I guess the fire just consumes the entire city.
Yeah, fucked
as
up.
They leave.
It's fucked. But they make it over. They make it, across the bridge. But do they like what they find?
They get to Paris, and I think at this point in the story, like basically 100 years has passed since we first met our beautiful long-haired boys. And this is when we encounter, they separate at one point before we meet Armand. Or are they? No, they are together.
Yeah, they're still together.
They're hanging out. Oh yeah, because
together.
she's at the theater.
Yeah, like
there's the theater.
They have a little life over there together. But then he meets. Yeah, he finally meets Antonio Banderas, who is just absolutely cooking.
Great little sequence with the other vampire that Brad Pitt calls a buffoon as he's dancing on the ceiling of this little tunnel. And it's a great little kind of switcheroo where it's like, oh, here's this European vampire and I got a bow tie. And then it's like, no, I am Antonio Banderas. I'm the real one you are looking for. And it's just the sexiest man ever. Hot off of Philadelphia. We just saw him as the boyfriend with Tom Hanks in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and this role is way more gay than that.
We couldn't remember if he kisses Tom Hanks in Philadelphia.
I'm almost
or not.
sure he doesn't, because
I have no memory of an
I just feel like in the early 90s,
you weren't allowed to do that.
yeah, like they already got away with so much just making that movie. But yeah, so he comes in, he is all over Brad Pitt. He's vibing so heavy with
He's
him.
getting so close to his face.
They are getting just like centimeters away. It's absolutely nuts. He invites him into like the underworld, where, you know, Brad and Kirsten sort of discover that all these other vampires down there are fucking craven. They're disgusting. I love the play, and I love the
play.
I love the look of that like whole underground theater. And they bring a lady out and like
feed on her in front
just,
of
like,
everyone.
Yeah, just eat her. That's just awesome.
It's part of the show.
Yeah, this is where I started to really appreciate that the movie had taken its time, because like finally getting there, it's like, oh Jesus, and this was like a down the middle like box office hit, you know, and they're doing like a cult like fucked up shit.
So this was my second time watching this movie. The first time I saw this, I was very sleepy. And by this point, I was pretty much clonked out. So this whole second half of the movie felt very fresh to me, because I had very little memory of all this stuff. So I really, really loved the whole theater scene. Like, that is so creepy and just visceral and gross, but honestly kind of beautiful in a fucked up way. It captures the essence of the vampire story in a really just in your face kind of way, where you're seeing vampires pretending to be actors playing vampires and carrying out this ritual of them feeding on this girl. And it's throwing all of the sexuality and the skin, the human flesh, the blood right in your face. And there is like this very dark, twisted beauty to it that immediately becomes really gross and off-putting. And the movie manages to kind of throw both things at you at the same time and like have you deal with them. It's like, this is going to be something that is incredibly disturbing, but in this really gross way is also kind of beautiful. I'm curious if you agree with that, Ray. Do you feel like I'm onto something with that?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just like the way it's presented is just so. Oh, sorry, I don't know if you can hear my cat. He's kind of freaking out.
Let the cat on the pod, dude.
He's got thoughts. He's got thoughts. They're not good. They're problematic. I'm gonna silence him. No, it's just like, because it's like, one, it's so in your face the way they're doing it. You know, it's just like they're literally telling people what they're doing, but it's like tongue in cheek. Like, it's so like. I feel like that's what what a European vampire would do.
Yeah.
And then just like the grime on everything inside. Like, I mean, all the sets for everything, like I was mentioning earlier, like his house and shit were like really awesome, but like the theater house itself is so cool, because it's like it just looks like they've been just like lighting it with just grimy candles, and it just looks like smoky and almost, you know what I mean? Like, but it's at the same time really fancy. And then you see afterwards, it's like they all kind of live under it or whatever, and they just do even more fucked up things under there. And it's just like, it makes you want to know more about that place, but it's like, what else, you know, are vampires doing shit like this somewhere else? Like, it just like gives me like so much more questions.
And there were a ton of sequel books to the first book. They came out like almost a decade later. The first sequel came out. So I almost wonder why. I mean, maybe they were like straight to video sort of sequels here, but if this were made today and it were a success, they would make so many of these fucking movies.
Well, there's the show, which I'm curious. Have you seen any of the show, Ray?
I've heard good things about it. I'm really surprised, because I thought it was going to be bad, just because, I mean, it's like 30 years later and we're making a show about it. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess it's been out for a while now, but I know that one dude from Game of Thrones is in it. The silent leech, whatever worm guy. forget
Yeah,
his name.
yeah. I know who you're talking about. The guy that's
Shout out
like
to him getting work.
Daenerys's soldier man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go-to boy.
I might check it out. I'm curious to see how they adapt it and how closely they stick to this same story.
If it's
they
all
go beyond it.
Well, yeah, because you could make a season out of the book. You could probably do more than that out of just the first book, just because there's so much story. We're spanning years and years and years. And like, even where, Anne Rice may have decided to skip like 30, 40 years, you could just not like,
Yeah, exactly.
there's a ton of shit going on that we don't see in this movie that, that gets them from like basically we don't see hardly anything from like the 1800s Europe to what, like 1992, when the movie
Mhm.
I'm assuming is set, right? It's set like in the modern era.
Well, they get to Paris in 1870.
Yeah.
And
Which, like, by the way, I hate to be the one to say it. What's the difference between 1770 and 1870? Like, are you really changing? Do you have to make the sets look different? No.
I think the bulk of what happens in Paris is in that late late 19th century range, because then once that is all over with Armand, that's when it skips again, and he's like going to the movies in the 80s.
That's what it is. It goes into montage form where he like falls in love with cinema.
Yeah, it's like another 100 years.
It's so real for that part. It's so real for that part.
Yeah, I know.
He's just vibing, like going to see like Taxi Driver or something.
I did not in a million years think that he would start vibing with movies. It made me laugh so hard.
That's the only way you can see the sun has been Superman. So
Yeah.
it's like, you gotta do
He's like, yeah, so that's basically what I've been up to ever since little Kirsten got disintegrated.
Yeah, so let's talk about that whole sequence. Like, so he puts his trust in Armand. He thinks that he's gonna have this new life with Armand, but he has to let Kirsten go.
Yeah,
she finds a woman, because basically, like, she's a little girl, so she has to have some kind of caretaker, right? She can't just be a little girl around in the world.
Yeah,
that wouldn't work.
But she's also like, listen, I can tell that you don't fuck with me anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I can tell you and Armand need some space.
Yeah, you guys are just all over.
Yeah, it's so obvious. So yeah, so she just finds some lady who's like a psycho enough to be like, yeah, no,
I'll
down.
be a vampire.
Yeah, let's go. Let's fucking do it.
I'll be you. I'll be older you vampire. It's cool. We can like do weird role play stuff. Like, honestly, all the like implications of that, even though because like they don't really like say anything, but it's just like just the implications because they're like dressed the same. Their hair is like a little bit similar. You're like, this is fucked up. I don't know, like, they're not telling you everything, obviously, but like, this is fucked up. Whatever she's got going on, her like tiny little brain is insane.
Well, because
so cool,
earlier in the movie, she was longing for that other woman that then she kills and has underneath the dolls, right? So she's confused with looking at a woman and wanting to be her, wanting to have her body, and then also like just wanting that woman. So it's like, I want to be you, but I also want to be with you. And you're right. It is very, very fucked up. And the movie doesn't really let you into her psychology too much, but the little bit that we get, I think it's fascinating, especially once again, because of Kiki's performance. Like, she's so good in everything she's doing in here. But yeah, that just thinking about that of just what it must be like to have that eternal confusion of, I want to be this other woman, and I also am in love with this other woman that I want to be.
It's yeah, I was looking up sort of, I didn't mean to pry into the dude's life, but Neil Jordan's sexuality, just because he did, like there's
Breakfast on Pluto.
Yeah, he did Breakfast on Pluto. I mean, there's a lot put into The Crying Game about that. And then this movie, like that stuff is all over it. And then all I found was a a blog from like a gay film critic from like 2006 that says Neil Jordan has to be the gayest heterosexual filmmaker ever. So other people are thinking the same thing, but yeah,
Maybe he's just an ally.
Facts. It's an interesting dynamic, and then when you think it's sort of getting set up, and it essentially is like that, she is, he acquiesces and turns her into a vampire, and then they are swiftly sacrificed to the sun.
Yeah,
and
very quickly.
And it's like really, I was almost confused as to what.
It's like we just met her and now they're dead.
I know, and the pacing is a little wonky. I was confused as to like where Armand stood in all this because he was aware something was up.
I think he wanted to just look the other way in case Brad would still be on board afterwards.
Yeah, I guess so. I love the look of them turning into ash.
Yeah.
I think
cool effect.
I think it looked awesome. And, the practical, once it's ash and like he touches it, like that was sick.
All the imagery here. I don't know if I've seen it recur a lot, but it was definitely heavily referenced in What We Do in the Shadows. I know Lee pointed out the theater. Mm-hmm. There's definitely a major episode. Have you watched What We Do in the Shadows, Ray? The show?
The show, parts of it. I've seen like a couple of episodes. I'm just like on my list to watch.
So there's a pivotal episode. I think it's the finale of season 1 or season 2 that they basically do the play. And it looks almost identical to this. And then this thing with the sun coming through in this hole in the ground, that's also in What We Do in the Shadows. And obviously it's a lot more comical in that show and it's not as like visceral, but just the visual of it is pretty much a direct callback to this sequence. Mm-hmm. And the way it plays out here is just like, oh my God, there is no room to think that they're going to survive this. It is just so straightforward, dark, inevitable death. It's just immediate.
You don't think it's honestly like coming. You think it's like, oh, he's gonna get her. It's like he'll save her. Maybe the lady will die, and then like because she's like like I remember like the very first time I watched this, I was like, oh, she's gonna like shield her, and then like she'll probably be all like fucked up, and he'll save her like right in time. But then they just die, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's fucked. It goes harder than you would think.
What's the deal with vampires and sunshine?
I don't like it.
I'd like a more thorough explanation as to what's going on there.
Actually,
like I know that there's some vampire stories that kind of play fast and loose with all the rules, but there are very consistent vampire rules, and that's one of them. And
yeah, that's like the main one, I think.
I just want some clarity on the situation, I would feel better about it.
A lot of it is, since it's generally, this is the sin metaphor, especially back in the old, before electricity, like the idea of nighttime bringing bad things.
Yeah. Like you have to exist at night.
Yeah.
As a
like
being.
that's where
you're a being that only exists at night.
Yeah. They're like, that's where the bad stuff exists.
Yeah.
In the darkness.
Oh, and another thing we clocked is just the visual of Brad and the other vampire approaching each other in the alley. Like that is just a very kind of clear, like the unfortunate reality of gay people in a certain era before it was socially acceptable to be out, where a lot of these things just had to happen very much behind in the shadows, behind the light of society, and just kind of giving each other looks and not trying to be too over, just in case it was some kind of trap or some kind of setup. Again, it's all very intentional. Like I feel like Neil Jordan knows exactly what he's doing. Staging that kind of sequence.
Circling back, because I know none of us have seen The Crying Game, but if anyone has, they're screaming right now that it has a large transgender element to it. And that's like, I would assume, a big part of why he got this movie
right
immediately following it. yeah, and then eventually Breakfast on Pluto. So yeah, it's just like it's heavily all over the movie. You know, even though they weren't allowed to be overt back then. I mean, they get so close, these two. This so
Dude,
close.
yeah, that's like my biggest gripe. It's like just do it. And it's like also like they didn't even kiss Antonio, like not one of them. Like, come on, like at least you would have thought like they would have kissed like the mysterious European like Spanish guy, you know. It's like not even him. Like
They
damn,
are-
really, like they are so close.
They get so. That's the thing. Like, there's that
They're
scene with
so-
Brad.
They are so close.
It is like half an inch away. Like you want it to happen so bad. But I think it's what you said. I think you're right. I think 94 was a little too early for
People weren't
this. You
ready
know, for
it.
for a major Hollywood movie with these two major stars, I think they just couldn't do it. Which that actually makes me even more curious about the show. Because maybe the show is like all the way, right? Maybe they're
I saw
fucking and
clips,
sucking.
There's just two dudes chilling in a bed naked. And I
There
was
you
like,
go.
oh, that's cool.
All right.
There we go.
We're
That's what we
doing
should
it.
have been having. But
That's-
yeah, they really just at least should have done one or something. Honestly, I think there's no way there's not. There's got to be a shot of them doing it. There's got to be a shot of them doing it. Like
yeah, like a cut, like a
come on.
deleted.
Yeah.
Like a deleted.
like,
yes. There
there
has
has
to be.
Like, there's no fucking way, dude. Like,
yeah.
These are actors. They're basically
you got all these
fucking
dudes in
each
a
other
room
all the
to make them
time.
kiss.
Yeah. They must
Okay.
I bet they accidentally kissed like
Right.
once or
Yeah, you
twice.
can't get that close and be like, oh,
Yeah. Just a quick little peck, just a little, and they're like, whoa, we can't show that. Oh, it's recorded. It's somewhere
But yeah,
on a hard drive.
so then that happens. He's super bummed. He bails out. He can't fuck.
Well, no, we should mention he goes berserk.
Mhm.
he
He like
retaliates.
burns down. He has a
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
scythe.
Yeah, you're
He
so
is
right.
cutting these bitches up.
Yeah,
Dude,
yes.
that part where he like runs up to the guy with the scythe and then the other guy just does this. I was just like, okay.
They're all flying out of their coffins, engulfed in flames, and he's just
Yeah, so
fucking
good.
taking their heads off.
That shit was awesome. He said, "Fuck y'all." Yeah,
He does
that
like
was
this
sick.
super like fast run and just gets cut. He like essentially cuts himself in half because he ran so fast that like
Yeah.
at Brad Pitt with the sickle, he just kind of ran it like just does this and he just like runs into it and like gets cut in like a third or some shit. Which honestly, that also looked good. Like I'm very surprised with how much of the not that there was a lot, but like the CGI they use is like
It looks great.
kind of noticeable. Like I mean, it's it's there, but it's like that could have been practical for all I know. Like
I mean, you can tell that a lot of the fire looked pretty real, I want to say.
mhm.
There's got to be some CGI fire in there, but I couldn't really pick it out. I would have to look a lot closer. It looked like they really had that set on fire. And then there's got to be some practical stuff with the gore in there too.
Yeah.
You know, obviously like the person that gets like chopped completely in half, that's definitely CGI. But some of the other stuff, like some of the limbs flying or the guts falling out, that looked pretty practical to me.
Yeah, that's
Armand,
crushed it.
does he survive this? Does he run away?
Yeah, they kind of just like break up. No,
Yeah.
they're just like,
yeah, like
it
they
didn't work
chat.
out.
Yeah, and Armand's like, that's all fine. You kind of made me realize I don't really fuck with any of those guys. Anyway,
Yeah, I'm
so.
still the oldest living vampire in the world.
Yeah, his
yeah,
little boy rescues him. Forgot him and his boy.
Oh, yes,
They
yes.
like pick
he
him
has-
up out of the outside
Yeah.
of the thing.
Yeah,
he
so
put down.
yeah. So I guess they just kind of part ways, and Brad becomes a huge bummer
What's
for the
going
next like
on?
100 years.
What's going on with that boy, by the way?
No lines,
Because
just vibes, nothing.
Because he definitely like offers his blood to every newcomer. Is definitely what's implied.
Yeah,
He's
Like he has bite marks.
Yeah, he's like a walking, just like sampler dish.
yeah.
It's like
He's like the main course at like a Pizzagate party.
Yeah, the Clintons.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have Alex Jones on. I'm sure he has some thoughts on this.
he
Oh.
can really let us know what's going on here.
Yeah, they got the gay frogs. No, I think going back to the point of like the vampire tropes, there's like the whole familiar trope. The familiar is the human that just does whatever the vampire wants with the promise of being turned into a vampire one day. So they don't really do that too much in this movie, but maybe that's what this kid is. But usually a familiar is not a small child. That's not really what you see too much. There's just little things in this movie where they're like, they're adding detail to the world, but they're just
they're probably subtracting detail from the book.
Gotcha.
But still feeling the need, maybe
to include it.
Yeah, maybe there's a line or two that got cut that was like, this is the boy we bring around, and they were like, it's vibes based anyway. We don't need to explain it.
It's from Nightman Cometh. It's the boy, little boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the
boy. So yeah, then he bails out and travels some more, finds his way back to New Orleans,
watches Superman,
becomes a cinephile, finally runs back into Lestat.
Yeah, at the trap house. Lestat is trapping at the old crib.
What has he been doing? Because like there's like, he goes to the cemetery and there's like all these animals are dead, like leading up to the house. Has he been living like that for like 100 years?
I guess,
because
he looks like shit.
Yeah, but that like no one caught him or any like that seems insane that he's just been.
Oh, well, okay. So we got to talk about this random ass helicopter that makes no sense.
No, I know that I was so weirded out by that. Yeah. So basically he ends up finally finding Lestat like sitting in his chair being like, I'm ugly now. And
don't look at me.
Yeah. And then
I'm hideous.
Yeah. And then a helicopter just pulls
shines
up
its light
immediately in front of the house, like right in front of the house. And to the point that I thought that like they were about to like bust our guys. Like I thought they were like, they were coming after them. But it was just to illustrate the point that Lestat like doesn't know what a helicopter is.
I think it's more so his inability to understand what electricity is.
Just that he's like weak and frail and dumb.
Yeah, I guess that's why he never leaves, because he lives in a world full of artificial light.
Yeah,
and he feels like he can't go anywhere. But Brad Pitt is just like, dude, it's just electric light.
Yeah,
it's not the sun. And he's like, no, I can't.
He's never learned to adapt.
Yeah, and Pitt did.
Guy who thinks that like a billboard is the sun. That's Lestat. It's like he goes to Times Square and he's like, whoa,
I'm in a microwave.
Yeah, so they have a little reunion there, and then what?
We think that's it. We're led to believe that that's the last we'll ever see of good old Lestat.
Yeah, so finally we go back to Slater and Pitt,
which we've been getting little snippets of here and there.
Yeah, and Slater's like, this can't be the end.
Yeah,
of the story.
Well, he wants to be a vampire.
Yeah, he's like, make me a fucking vampire. Yeah. Like this can't be it. You don't know. See this gift you have.
No.
Yeah, blah blah
it's
blah.
A curse.
Yeah, Pitt's like, fuck you. Slater's like, fuck you, and he like bails with
that moment. Honestly, genuinely, like I felt a real pulse from Pitt's performance right there, where he tries to scare him. I'm like, okay, all right. You could have done something like this earlier in the movie to make me feel like you were someone. He does a good job there. And then poof, Pitt's gone. And Slater's all freaked out. He gets in his beautiful red convertible.
Yeah.
And drives away on the Golden Gate Bridge. And we think that's the end. He's listening back to his tape.
This is the craziest thing I've ever seen, like, to end a movie.
And then
Lestat just pops up. Oh god.
Out of nowhere, our boy is back.
And he's like, I'm a human. I don't have to introduce myself.
He's like not scared of anything. He's like on the highway, like in a convertible, and he's just like, that's cool, dude. I'm scared of helicopters, but not this. Like,
I know. He's really prepped himself for this.
a couple years have passed.
Yeah.
I think we're led to believe that they kept in touch, and Pitt was like, you know what? I'm going to help you out, buddy. I'm going to get you out of here. Let's get you a fresh corpse. Let's get you fed.
Why does Lestat kill? Like, why does he get this guy? Like, why does he want to sneak up on him?
Maybe this is just a thing that they do now. Maybe Brad is like, look, you wait here. I'm going to go pick up a guy. I'm going to tell him this whole story. It's going to get his warm blood pumping. It's going to get him real excited. And then that's when you come in and you start just getting in there.
Or does he want to just turn him into a vampire?
I think so. I think
Slater?
maybe he like heard what he was saying to
Yeah.
Pitt, and he's like, oh, he wants it. I'll give it to him.
Yeah, he's like,
'Cause it is pretty funny.
Absolutely, my brother, because he wants, a Pitt. Like, he wants someone to like help him out. So maybe
I mean,
Okay,
he heard
so
that whole
it becomes
heard
like
that
a
whole
buddy
story.
Yeah, it becomes a new buddy movie.
So we're thinking Pitt is not hanging around. We're thinking Lestat has found a new guy.
Yeah, because
Okay.
because he's like listening to the audio tape of Pitt, and he's like, "Would this guy shut the fuck up already?"
Yada yada yada. Heard it a million times.
Yeah, and then the movie ends.
That's it.
It's so funny.
Goodbye.
Oh my god, great ending.
I love the ending.
Goofy ass ending.
Yeah, it's got a nice like, I don't know, kind of elbowy, like jabby attitude. Like, hey, it wasn't all so dour. We're having fun with our boys, with our vampire boys. Okay, so let's get into the categories. The first category is the RunP category, brought to you by RunP.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to RunP for sponsoring this episode. The app that tells you when to go pee during a movie. Ray, what scene would you go pee during Interview with the Vampire? What's the RunP moment of the film? I think there's a bunch, honestly.
Yeah.
There are so many
I'm trying to
places where
think.
you can go pee.
Because I think I did do it once too, and I was like,
Yeah.
'cause, I mean, I've seen this movie like a couple of times. Also, like I don't know about y'all, but they used to run this shit on TV like so much. I feel like back in the day. But
Is it
honestly,
rated R?
oh, is it? But honestly, I think anywhere in like honestly, like not the first half, but like
Yeah,
second,
think-
third. You know what I mean? Like like right, almost in the middle. Is like there's a good
I
spot.
think that before we meet Dunst, I think there's probably
Yeah.
one too many scenes that are just exist to illustrate that like Brad doesn't want to eat people and Tom does, and I think one of those you could take a piss. You know what I mean?
It's too
Mhm.
early.
Yeah.
If I just peed before the movie, this is a long movie. It's like 2.5 hours.
Well, don't pee before the movie.
So I sit down needing to pee,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, I'll go early.
Yeah, because you read your RunP. You got on the RunP app, available on iTunes.
I would say as soon as they get on the boat with the flames of New Orleans behind them, that's when you go. And you should be back by the time you meet Antonio Banderas. If you're quick, there
Mhm.
should be enough
Yeah.
time there. You might miss a little bit of the other guy dancing on the ceiling. You might walk in during that moment. That should be enough time there. That's what I say.
That's fair.
Okay. Next category is Tom swap. Could the other Tom do this role? Could
No.
Hanks
No.
do the Cruise role
No.
in
no.
this film?
No way.
What do you think, Ray?
I'm trying to picture him in the wig,
Oh
in a blonde wig,
Blonde and yeah.
and pale.
It's a terrifying image.
I think you could. I don't know. They would have to make him like a Euro. He could not play a Creole vampire. First of all, sorry.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting.
Pitt-
There's like
Pitt
moments
barely
when
got away with that.
when Pitt says like, I'm a Creole man, I'm like, no, you're not.
Dude,
Not
you,
even
you,
close.
you should have done the Meet Joe Black thing where he's like talking in like the fucking instead of the
Holy
patois accent, he talks in
shit.
like the pure like Creole accent.
Yeah,
10
he's
out
like,
of 10 movie,
that's a
dude.
spicy muffaletta. He's doing like a Louisiana like judge, you know, in the car.
Now,
Order.
now come here, little girl. Let me
No,
make
I
you
don't
into a
think he would have
vampire.
been able to do it, but it would. I would love to see it. I would honestly. I feel like he should something like this. This is like way out of Tom Hanks' wheelhouse. To
I
do, like,
think I think he would do better in the Brad part because he would make it actually likable. You know, he would turn that character into someone
Yeah.
you actually think.
Yeah, there's more of a
It's way more
dynamic
sympathetic.
journey there. Yeah.
Yeah, because I love, you know, I think Brad is an awesome actor. I think he's done a million great things. I don't think he was quite dialed in for this.
He was
whole
just
thing.
pretty.
Yeah.
You know, I think honestly, I think the next year with 7, that's really when it's like, oh, we're locked in. Like I think his performance in 7 is great. And then, you know, it kind of just takes off from there. Yeah, I don't think I don't see Hanks doing this. I honestly don't see Hanks being a vampire in any
God, it's so
sense. Like I'm struggling to think of a scenario. Like if he popped in as a guest star on What We Do in the Shadows, like maybe you could get that to work if he's buried under a ton of makeup.
No,
you can't really tell it's Hanks.
The reason that he could only do the Pitt part is because he has to be a guy who like doesn't want to be a vampire.
Right.
He has to be a guy who's like, no, I'm just some guy.
Yeah. My wife died. Okay. Next category is what's your favorite scene?
Wait, did we skip the? I guess we're not doing full on recaging couch, are we?
That's later.
Oh, okay. We'll get there.
I always save that for last.
I just wanted to stick in a quick note about Cruise's casting because yeah, like I said, Anne Rice did not fuck with it. Because of his star power, Cruise received a record $10 million salary and a percentage of the profits.
Gee. Oh, well, now I know why he did this fucking movie.
That in
Boy got paid.
in 1992.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking insane.
Yeah.
This movie made him like, you know, more money than anything before that.
This was the era of these like the start of these mega salaries. Like,
Yeah.
what didn't Jim Carrey make like? Wasn't there? I guess it wasn't for
Dude,
one.
Jim
movie.
Carrey had 2 movies this year.
I guess this was like I
He
guess
was banking
94, 95 was like when Jim Carrey made like $20 million.
She then, so Anne Rice, instead of Cruise, because she hated him so much, she recommended a number of other actors, including John Malkovich. Very, very vampire looking man.
Yeah.
Peter
Nosferatu.
Weller. Peter Weller, yeah, sure. Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, that's all boring. I feel like part of what makes this movie like good is that it's just insane to see Tom Cruise do this.
That I think is absolutely true.
It's just like
Yeah.
it's so not obvious. It's such like a wild choice that you just can't help but be drawn into it. It literally every time I saw Tom Cruise on screen, I just laughed because I was like, I can't believe this. This was crazy. All these other ones, it just that all feels like, okay, that just sounds like a literary adaptation. That sounds
Yeah,
like a
something
very
normal.
serious, you know, drama about a vampire.
Eventually, Rice became satisfied with Cruise's performance after seeing the completed film, saying that from the moment he appeared, Tom was Lestat for me. And that Tom did make Lestat work was something I could not see in a crystal ball. And then
great.
she called him to be like, I'm sorry.
That's really great.
He was like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking get you there.
Did you see this quote from Brad Pitt? He said that he was miserable while filming, and even tried to buy himself out of the contract.
Wow.
Damn.
Why was he miserable?
He didn't want to be a vampire.
He called the production 6 months of fucking darkness because it was all night shoots.
Yeah.
Filmed mostly
Yeah.
in London in the depths of winter, which put him in a deep depression.
Oof. And Cruz is going method the whole time.
Yeah.
Call me Lestat.
Annoying the shit out of him.
He received the script only 2 weeks before started filming. That explains a lot. This was a source of disappointment for him, and he unfavorably contrasted the character of Louis, which he had admired in the book, to that which was presented in the script. Okay, so Pitt was a fan of the book and thought that his character was not quite what he had in mind.
So this is my favorite tidbit of trivia about this whole movie on Wikipedia. Due to Anne Rice's perception of Hollywood's homophobia, at one point she rewrote Louis, making his part a woman.
Whoa.
Yeah, when she was rewriting, just because that way, like, you know, it would be more explicit, first of all, like their relationship, and be like, you know, she was scared people were gonna just be like, bro, this movie's so gay. So at the time she thought it was the only way to get the movie made. Again, this is like way earlier than it actually got made. This is probably in the 70s, 80s. And Cher was considered.
I mean, that would have been great.
Looks like a vampire.
Yeah.
Looks just like one.
Moonstruck.
Dresses like one.
Cher wrote a song called Lovers Forever for the movie soundtrack, but then the Pitt started gaining steam and like she didn't get cast. So they never used the song. But then in 2013 album, she released a dance pop version of the song.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
What a journey. Holy shit. Okay. So actually, while we're like on the Wikipedia, we usually do this, but just reading the Ebert quote. So Roger Ebert gave the movie 3 out of 4 stars. He said, the movie never makes vampirism look like anything but an endless sadness. That is its greatest strength. Vampires throughout movie history have often chortled as if they'd gotten away with something. But the first great vampire movie, Nosferatu in 1922, knew better, and so does this one. Wow. So he harkens it back all the way back to the beginning.
By the way, you didn't read this whole quote by Brad Pitt.
I was going to. Yeah. So this
is a hilarious quote of
he
him.
gives the explanation as to why he didn't like the adaptation.
Yeah. So when he gets the script and he's like, oh, bummer. And then he's like, in the book, you have this guy asking, who am I? Which was probably applicable to me at that time. Am I good? Am I of the angels? Am I bad? Am I of the devil? In the book, it is a guy going on this search of discovery. And in the meantime, he has this Lestat character that he's entranced by and abhors. In the movie, they took the sensational aspects of Lestat and made that the pulse of the film. Well, you gotta have some fun, Brad. And those things are very enjoyable and very good. But for me, there was just nothing to do. You just sit and watch.
Yeah,
he was jealous that his friend Tom got to have a good time and act while he had to just be a bummer.
Oh my God.
It's Brad.
It's true. The Pitt character is boring. It's just kind of boring. But I will say there are moments where that more trimmed down approach works really well. And it's mostly the scenes with Kirsten.
Yeah.
Like I found that to be very, very effective.
They have a very sweet relationship.
Yeah.
I love every scene with them together.
Yeah. It's very nice because it's the wild kooky mom and the like emotionally repressed dad. And she's just, trying to hold them together. And it's just a nice dynamic.
It's very their dynamic as a couple is very May December.
I am naive.
Yeah, Tom Cruise saying that. Anyway,
I want to fuck your butt. Give me that warm blood. I wish we had Hunter here.
Woo! I know. These are the moments. You just got to have the guy.
All right, favorite scene. What is your favorite scene in the movie, Ryan?
Either the beginning where he burns his house down, just because, like, honestly, again, just the way he does it is like, I don't know, you can just tell like the way he was directed to do it. I don't know, like just the way he takes his step is like so like, because he's actually burning shit. So it's like you know, they're doing it in like with the sense of like safety as well. But it's just like so cool because he's just like, all right, I'm gonna light this on fire, and it's just like practical right there. Or when they kill Lestat because it's just like
Yeah.
I mean, also you don't think it's gonna be that Kirsten Dunst does it. You know what I mean? It's like you think if anything it would have been Brad Pitt who does it, but she just like drugs him with the laudanum and then just slits his throat all crazy
Mm-hmm.
and just shoves it in his face. And I'm just like, damn.
Honestly, I think I agree with you. I think my favorite scene is them killing Lestat. Like, there's a lot of great scenes in this movie. A lot of them, you know, small character beats, dialogue moments, little small details. Even all the action stuff at the end, I found really, really great. But I think I agree with you that one scene really stood out at me. Like I kind of leaned forward in my seat a little bit, and I was like, wow. That's just a great scene, a great movie moment.
Yeah, for me,
Kristen
it's,
also like in that shifts. Like you just like she's like, oh, she's
Yeah.
not. She's not. I mean, obviously she's not a little girl, but it's like she's not a little girl now.
Yeah, you
she's
fucking
kind of
did
nuts
it.
now. Yeah.
I guess that's another power of the dog thing is like the kid poisoning the evil one.
Right.
Wow.
Damn.
Lovely.
They vampires up in the power of the dog?
I would bet you, I would genuinely bet you anything that Benedict did watch this movie to prep.
Right.
Just because there's such a similarity in the role. But I would say either that or that scene or when the shit just goes fully berserk in Paris or where yeah.
Scythe, blood,
flames. That was just such a release because it was like I didn't, I had no clue the movie was going to go that far, and you have that thought multiple times in the movie. You're like, whoa, I guess we're going here. Whoa, sick.
What about most iconic moment? Like, what is the one thing? It can be the same thing as favorite scene if you want, but I guess like the one thing that you would honestly, this is not I wouldn't say this is a very iconic movie in general. Like I feel like this is probably one of the more underseen movies in the filmography. But if you had to pick like a single image or a single moment that kind of defines the movie or your memory of the movie when you bring it up in your head, what would it be? Oh man, I would go. So I'm in between two. For me, it's either the Lestat turning Louis into a vampire, like that whole bit of him feeding him his blood, or the first moment you see Antonio Banderas. Like just that moment of like him turning around and looking at him in the alley, and you just see that man. I was like, whoa. That is burned into my brain.
I was going to say that actually. Every time that him and Antonio almost kiss.
Yeah. that whole sequence of them talking to each other.
Yeah.
The way it's shot with them just so close to each other.
Yeah. It's like absurd. And that is, either that or just, Lestat vibes.
It looks like the header image on Letterboxd is Lestat sucking on a woman's wrist. I'm not sure exactly what scene that is. Is that the one?
Oh yeah, that's the one I was gonna pick actually.
Okay,
because that's in the beginning when like he's like, oh, I'll kill her for you or whatever. Because honestly, like thinking about it, like seeing it as somebody like putting myself in the mindset of seeing it back then, like you're seeing like imagine like you see this lady in like a sandwich of Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, and they're just like all like making out, and there's like blood and shit, and you like watch that back then, you're like, what the fuck is going on? But then you watch that now, and just like this is two like the biggest stars, and this lady's just like right in the middle, and she's just getting like sucked all over and shit. Like she must have had a fucking blast, dude. That must have been awesome.
Yeah,
but
they're tonguing each other.
Yeah, and you got that weird little poker thing that like to make her bleed more.
Yeah, the
like,
little
dude, you got fangs.
The little like Coke finger thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit's dope.
He's so addicted to blood that he's got special tools for it.
That's definitely it for me.
Yeah, there are so many like threesomes and foursomes going on in this world. It's wild. Again, I mean, this book I'm assuming is pretty it's
erotic.
Like it's it's designed to intrigue the reader. You know what I mean? When they're laying in bed at night.
There's a really funny thing on TikTok where there's a whole crowd of TikTok called book talk.
Oh,
so,
yes.
so it's just people who like, it's essentially like a book club on TikTok, people talking about what they're reading. And apparently there's a huge section of people who read like, fantasy genre stuff. And pretty quickly you learn that they're all just gooning all the time. It's just all these books are so horny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
dude, it's
erotic.
insane.
Book talk is just it's just like female gooners.
Yeah. It's like,
Text
oh no,
readers.
you're reading about like fairies and dragons and just like knights and and wizards.
Bro,
And, no,
it's
you're just gooning.
fanfic stuff. Like it's just text schooners being like, no, it's not fan fiction because it's printed on a book, so it's different. It's like they can. It's not.
It's
smart
literature.
if it's print. There's chapters. It's different.
Right. Yeah, it's different.
I'm not gooning.
Yeah. I'm being intellectual.
Please don't put in the papers that I was gooning.
Especially over a book.
Did you see the tagline they put on Letterboxd? It says, "Drink from me and live forever." Love it. Okay.
Yeah, the Lord.
biblical type shit.
Yeah. Next category is fellas WYD.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do?
So we're Louis.
So if I'm an immortal being,
Mm-hmm.
if I can't die, but I also can't be in the sun,
Mm-hmm.
but I need blood,
Mm-hmm.
I would probably be some kind of medical professional that works with blood. So I just have a constant, like, steady drip, and I don't need to go hunting everywhere. Like, just the act of like having to go out, like this whole system that Lestat had of like having to go to a party and like ask them to go on a walk, and then you have to kill them behind the tree. That feels very exhausting to me.
That's what I'm saying. He's going for, why is he going for the highest class of person? Like almost everyone in that society was dirt poor.
Yeah.
It would be so easy to kill your average person back then.
I would be some kind of doctor or a nurse or something like that, where I could just, if you're drawing a little blood, just draw a little extra and just add it to the stash. And you just always have a good stash going.
I would be
Blood embezzler.
because people used to come over by boat, of
Yeah.
course. I would become a really good sailor, and I would get on these boats over like a ship to Europe or whatever. Nighttime comes, I'm killing just everyone on the boat, and then I am driving the boat and I'm parking it somewhere else, and I'm eating all them.
But then what do you do after that? That's the thing.
I don't know.
You need a you can't die. You need a consistent.
You get on a new boat.
Okay.
Now you're in Europe and you get on a new boat.
Okay. So you're just boating it the whole time.
That's what I am doing.
Okay. What would you do, Ray?
So I think I'm hanging out with Armand until movies are created. And then I'm just going full, like, I'm seeing like everything. Because I mean, you got nothing but time. And like, you got to hang out in the dark. Like, I feel
That's
like
facts.
it's an easy,
But the thing is, you need to feed. Otherwise, you start looking like a fucking, start looking like a ghoul. That's how they maintain their beautiful physique, is by constantly like ingesting human blood.
I don't know.
That's the hard thing.
I wonder what Armand's gonna do. Post like everyone he loves dying. Like, how's he gonna eat folks? Did Brad really change him, or not quite so much?
He's probably going to set up shop somewhere. I mean, he's in Paris. I mean, he could go to Spain. He's a Spanish man. He could set up in like Barcelona. Get the scene, get the vampire scene going in there. The club scene at night. Get a nice nightclub going.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie plan is a good plan, but if you're feeding on people at the movies, you're gonna need to bounce around a lot because people are gonna be onto you if a lot of dead bodies are popping up at movie theaters.
Due to film festivals.
Yeah. People
Go
die
to
at
the-
festivals all the time.
Go to TIFF.
When you go to exactly. South by Southwest, there's a really shitty movie. I didn't like it. This guy really liked it. You're out of here, dude. I fucking
They
How
just
dare
found
you.
him. And
Different
the festival
opinion?
just keeps going. They just gotta keep going.
there's so many people there, dude.
I host a podcast.
And you invite guests over.
Yeah,
And you eat them.
because anyone who would be on a podcast,
No one's gonna ask.
I wouldn't feel bad.
I'm telling you, I got this figured out. You don't have to kill. You just need the blood. You just need the blood. You just need a system, easy access, consistent access to human blood. So you just infiltrate medical facility, just get in there. I would struggle with the no sunshine thing. That's a real deal breaker for me. I would start to go a little kooky crazy if I could never look at the sun again.
Yeah, you can't be a fucking medical professional, bro. Where are you fucking practicing? You doing sleep studies?
I would have some blackout curtains in my office.
I don't know.
Get there really early, like 5 a.m. and stay really late.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I don't know, but I do know. Yeah, I would definitely get super into like movies or whatever the fuck. Because I guess you can't get into a ton of other stuff. Before electricity. Like, guess I'm reading another book tonight.
Night golfing. Could do some night golfing.
Facts.
Night pickleball.
Yeah.
Yeah, pickleball.
Get that going.
Can vampires be out during an eclipse? A total eclipse? Because if the sun is blocked out.
I don't know. I mean, in Twilight, they can be out in like partially cloudy skies.
Oh.
They just have to be in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay. All right. I guess you can bend these rules. Okay. The next category is we're scoring the Tom look. So out of 5.
You know where I'm at with this one.
How do we feel about the hair, the brow, the teeth?
I think he's never looked worse.
I think it goes all the way back around. I think it's so bad that it's actually kind of good. Because we don't see anything like this again.
So much of his power and his intensity lies within his eyebrows. He's staring at you through those fucking brows. He has a big bushy brow.
Yeah.
You lose that, you lose a lot of Tom. And then you lose his big ass smile. You're losing a lot of Tom. And then because he's wearing a wig, you're not even really getting a sense that he has a naturally great head of hair. That's the rest of it. You're losing everything that makes Tom appealing.
You're making a good case. Fuck. What do you think, Ray?
I think I'm gonna go the opposite way, just because like I've also seen like his like Lestat's like look cribs so many times now, like in like other vampire like media and stuff. Like I think it's like his first or second outfit he's got on with like the really like fluffy like
Yes.
thing coming out of his sleeves and shit, and like the
fits,
blue of it.
The fits are important in this. You have to factor in the fits.
I've just seen so many like little blonde vampires who look exactly like that. You know what I mean? It's just like he's almost like, again, he's become like, and like in Mission Impossible 2, he did the same thing. He became like a prototype of like a look of a guy. You know what I mean? Like, and also not until Mission Impossible 2 are we getting long hair Tom Cruise again. And then it doesn't, and after that, it doesn't happen till like The Last Samurai. So it's like a rare look also. It's like we don't even get wig Tom Cruise until like Tropic Thunder or some shit like.
Right, with the ball.
So this is like,
right.
Yeah.
So what are you going to give it?
So what's the score?
I think like 4.5. Just because the paleness is a little much.
Oh shit!
The paleness is a bit much.
And you're
But
what?
it makes his nose look freaky.
You're down at what, like 1?
I gotta give it a 0.5. I reacted.
Oh,
I just reacted so viscerally when I saw him with that blonde hair.
It's tough. I'll go ahead and split the difference because there's a lot of things going against it. right? I think everything you said is true, Drew. Like there's so much that you're losing. And then on top of that, seeing him next to Brad is even worse, right? Because Brad looks so great. So it's like by comparison, it's really tough. But then again, what Ray said is so true about how rare it is to see our boy in this form. And I think that has to be valued. The fact that he did this, the fact that he put himself, he was like, yep, I'm going to wear that wig. I'm going to wear those eyebrows. I'm going to wear those teeth. I'm going to do this movie. That is crazy to me.
Oh, I respect it.
That is insane that this happened. So I have to go at least like a 2.5 or a 3. That's kind of where I'm at. It's like right somewhere there in that middle portion where I can't really go lower than that because I just respect the choice.
Okay, so we're at like a net of like a 2.
Sure,
probably. Well, no, because you were so high, Ray. We're probably at a 2.5,
which is probably the lowest we have been in any of these Tom movies.
Yeah,
he's been consistently like on an uphill climb, and then this is just like such a fucking curveball in so many ways.
Yeah.
I also have running on here. I don't think he runs once. He climbs on the ceiling. I think that's it.
It's implied running in the beginning because he's like, "Oh, how do you do that?" But it's just like the weird, like
it's like teleporting off camera.
Yeah.
I know Neil Jordan,
the Dragon Ball Z shit.
Yeah. Neil did that. He used that trick one too many fucking times of like him like shoom, and then popping up on the opposite side of the frame.
Yeah,
like that. Like you use that with Brett
student film
and Roscoe's Patience.
Yeah, it's a great trick. It works.
You know, Tom was like,
it works comedically.
There's
like,
a lot of
for real.
There's a lot of comedic moments that work in this movie. I don't know if Neil Jordan intended for all of them, but I feel like so much of this movie works comedically.
Yeah,
because it's so crazy. It's so silly. I know that they were probably trying to be like very serious with a lot of it, but there's a lot of fun to be had. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm really glad you picked it, Ray. Before we end, there's one more. We got to do recaging and re-Robin Couch. And where are Nick Cage and Robin Williams in this movie?
I don't think that there's been a better place to slot in Nick Cage than in Lestat in that role.
And then Robin as Brad, and they're together.
I was gonna say Robin as Claudia, but it also.
Oh God. Or Robin is one of the French vampires.
Yeah, I think he's like the
other guy.
He's the goofy evil one that meets first.
Oh
yes.
Yeah. I think that would work.
That would be good. I would like that.
But yeah, Cage Lestat is just like
shoo
easy.
I'm a vampire. Basically already did it.
Yeah. Have you seen Vampire's Kiss, Ray?
No, I did see. What's his other vampire movie he's in?
The new one.
Renfield?
Yeah, Renfield.
You saw Renfield.
I saw like half of it. It's not good. But he's fun in it.
Yeah, man. You got to check out Vampire's Kiss. It's the most fucked up shit. It's like late 80s Nick Cage. Like he's like so young.
It's an insane movie.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. Please watch it. You got to let us know.
Oh, well, it's on my list.
You guys let us know what you think. It's one of those movies where like everyone was on a different wavelength making it.
Yeah.
But the right people were on the right wavelength.
Yeah.
Including Cage.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, yeah, Cage and the director both sort of realized that it was like a really bad movie, like a bad script. And so like Cage decided to just start doing like a slapstick type of vampire. And it's like, it's so fucking funny. It's unreal. He's a visionary. He is. He's fully a visionary.
So as listeners know, I'm a letterbox hoe. I made a list called I'm a Vampire, I'm a Vampire, I'm a Vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at other users' vampire lists, and there are so many fucking vampire movies out there that I have never heard of in my life. A lot of random shit. If I ever wanted to get into vampire cinema, that would be a whole thing. So I try to make one of my own. I only threw like 21 movies on here. I've only seen 7 of them, but I I just try to carve out my own little niche of vampire cinema. And so obviously you got to start it with the classics, Nosferatu, Dracula. Then you get into the 80s with The Lost Boys and Vampire's Kiss. And then the 90s with Bram Stoker's Dracula, Interview with the Vampire. Then it starts to pop off with From Dusk Till Dawn, the Robert Rodriguez movie.
Facts.
Blade. There's a movie called Vampires that John Carpenter made. And then the 2000s hit with some crazy ass shit like Underworld, Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman. Did you ever see that, Ray? The Van Helsing movie?
No, it's like honestly, they did it so right because it's like a monster of the week type of thing, but like 5 of them in one movie. I was like,
that's like one of
me the fuck up.
That's like one of the trashiest like corn music video ass movies ever. Like that is,
I mean, yeah, that and like you're saying, Underworld, like that era of like dark fantasy movies is like with the insane amount of leather, even though like Van Helsing is like takes place in like forever ago, like they still got like the sexy like
yeah, and they like
straps
listen to
and everything.
They listen to like Linkin Park.
They love Flyleaf. What can I say?
Yeah, exactly.
The tagline of Van Helsing is "Adventure lives forever."
Jeez,
that sucks.
What a fucking disaster. Then I try to throw on again, like I said, I haven't seen any of this. I was just trying to kind of put something together to kind of guide me. 30 Days of Night, Let the Right One In. Then you get Twilight. And I feel like when you're trying to consider the modern vampire movie, I think a lot of it has to hinge on Twilight.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Yeah. It was
everything.
it was just such a seismic thing. And when I look at this list, it kind of feels like everything is before Twilight and after Twilight. It's just kind of like this marker of an era. Then you get Daybreakers with Ethan Hawke, which is a solid movie. It's like a movie where vampires have kind of taken over the world, and
I
they're
forgot
like
about that movie.
they're like the main species, and humans are hiding in the shadows. And so vampires have like a whole society, like they run the world essentially.
I remember renting that from Blockbuster.
Yeah. Weird movie, kind of interesting. Fright Night with Colin Farrell, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter.
Vampires suck.
Vampires suck. What We Do in the Shadows, which might be my favorite out of all of these. Like that's like a 5-star movie for me. I mean, I know Taika Waititi is like so cooked now. I don't know if he's ever gonna get back. But
we can appreciate who he was.
Boy cooked with that movie.
Yeah.
That movie was so good.
Yeah. Warm Bodies, is it on there?
I got to throw these on there. Yeah. Warm Bodies. That's Nicholas Hoult. It's like the romance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine, like down the middle little rom-com.
Then you get Dracula Untold, which is them that's like them almost trying to do the Tom Cruise Mummy thing, you know, trying to revamp the cinematic universe. And then our beloved Midnight Mass. Do you see Midnight Mass, Ray? On Netflix?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's another huge recommend. That's a show. I think it's like 8 episodes. But it is phenomenal. It's a story of like, it's basically, it takes a vampire story and it hides it inside of like a haunted town with a weird priest story. So it doesn't reveal itself to be a vampire story until a few episodes in. It starts out as just like, oh, creepy things are happening in this village, in this island town with this new priest. Really, really great show. And then Renfield, your favorite movie, right?
I'll check it out. And we also have Nosferatu coming out this year.
Dude, let's go. I was gonna say
William Dafoe's second Nosferatu movie.
Hell yeah.
Our vampires.
Did you mention Shadow of a Vampire in your list?
No. Shadow of a Vampire with Willem?
Yeah.
That's
his other.
It's
like a meta Nosferatu movie. It's like where they like Nosferatu's like a real guy. and they want him to be.
Willem makes sense as a
Unit.
vampire guy. Like you look at Willem Dafoe and you're like, yeah, that's put him in a vampire movie. Man, I'm so excited for Nosferatu. Bob the Eggman, like boy's about to pop off.
Bob Eggs.
All right.
Yeah, they might be back, honestly, because I mean, like they got the fucking show, the Interview with a Vampire show is still popping off, so it's like people are digging it.
It could happen. People might be ready. You know, we had our Edward and our Bella moment, and now the real men, and now it's the real men's turn. The boys had their twilight, now it's the real men's turn.
And it also was the real men's turn in 1992.
Yes. With one of the most homoerotic films ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Interview with the Vampire. All right, Ray, before we end, we have a couple minutes, like a quick 5-minute speed round. If you wanted to fire off any takes on anything you've watched lately, any movies or shows that you want to talk about real quick before we end. Any quick thoughts on Dune 2 or any good shows you've been watching?
So I'm super pumped for Dune 2 to come back to IMAX because I'm gonna rewatch it like for a third time, or a fourth. I don't know, but yeah, obviously I loved it. Like it was, especially in IMAX, dude. Like the
cinema,
not even like the loud parts, but like the quiet part too. The crunchy sand, yeah. But actually, I was going through my letterbox real quick just to see what I have been watching. And have you guys ever heard of Victor Frankenstein?
Oh my God, wasn't that Daniel Radcliffe?
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe and James McAvoy. So James McAvoy is Dr. Frankenstein, and then Radcliffe is Igor. And in the beginning, dude, you think it's almost like this. It's like, whoa, are we getting like a little dude on dude action here? Because he fixes Daniel Radcliffe by because he has his hunchback. He's like, you're not actually a hunchback. You're you just got a bunch of pus in there. So he sucks him dry, and it's like a bunch of white viscous liquid. And he at first he's like, I gotta do it with my mouth. So he does it like that, and then afterward, that's just he starts the pumping going. He starts just grabbing him from the back and just breaking his back to be normal. And I was like, whoa, dude, this is kind of cool. And then it's not good. The rest of it is really, really bad.
Written by, guess who? Max Landis.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
There was one line that was really bad. I was like, this is weird. And then I looked it up at that point. I was like, oh, this just makes so much sense now.
Oh God.
But yeah, it's an insanely bad movie. Yeah, there's so many I would recommend looking at the cast. Also, they fumbled it because that's an insane cast, and they just horrendous dialogue.
Oh God, Andrew Scott is.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's so embarrassing for him. Oh, Max Landis. You're telling me the guy who wrote Bright wrote that beautiful scene that he just described? That's crazy. I don't believe it.
Honestly, just watch. You should watch that scene, but the rest, you don't have to. It's trying to be like Sherlock Holmes, dude. It's so weird. The Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Where it's he's like Iron Man almost, and it's just no.
Not quite. Not quite, sir. Cool, man. Anything else?
I'll end on something good. I rewatched The Last Dance, and dude, it's so good.
It goes crazy.
I actually tricked my fiance into watching it because she was like, I would always be like, hey, you want to watch it? She's like, no, I'm not really interested in it. And then so it was one day we were cooking, I just had it on, and then she's peeking, and then she gets into it, and then after that, every episode, you know that meme with the guy just sitting up or whatever?
Yeah.
She would do that 2 times an episode. You're like, oh shit,
it's
Michael's locking in, dude. Yeah, it's you don't have to give a shit about basketball or any of those people really, or know anything about it, but it doesn't even explain basketball, and you just can get what's going on. You understand it. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's so compelling. It really is. I think basketball is probably the best sport for that. That and maybe soccer, but Basketball's in a
Mhm.
smaller arena because like you can just kind of watch basketball and understand what they're doing, even if
Yeah, I
there's like
literally did the same thing.
yeah, there's even if there's
Mhm.
like a million complexities to it. Like you're like, oh yeah, they're trying to like get it in there.
Well, they also
Those
just
five
had
guys go against those five.
Yeah.
they
Put
had
the ball in
so
the-
much great archive footage,
Oh yeah.
like and incredibly
Crazy.
high quality like film
Uh-huh.
footage.
And it was well put together episode by episode. Like they did well with their arcs that they found, and all the little side characters. They reflected the way it goes in real life, which is like,
Mhm.
there would be an episode that would be, it was just like all about like Steve Kerr, like he was like the side character in it.
Mhm.
And that is how it goes in basketball, is like there will be a whole playoff series where like all of a sudden everyone's talking about Aaron Gordon again. And it's like, oh wow. And then like next series is someone else. It's like, oh well, he mattered for them that series. And now it's this new guy.
One thing my wife and I say to each other semi frequently is, and I took that personally.
Yeah.
Facts. Facts.
MJ, he just couldn't let it go.
Mm.
All these years later, he's still so fucking competitive.
What an era. Last Dance, Tiger King,
Yeah.
fucking making bread.
That was the time.
Facts.
Okay, last question. Back to Dune 2 real quick. I forgot to ask this. Are Fade Routha's ladies vampires? Those like weird
The hoes that eat all of his victims.
his like side
Yeah.
girls.
I thought they were just cannibals because he's like wants to feed them parts and stuff because they
they're-
don't want just they want the meat too.
yeah,
That's
they're
the
not
thing. They don't want
sucking
just the blood.
nothing.
They're
Yeah.
chomping on every bit.
Yeah, they're slurping that down.
I had to check.
Do you guys see, just really quick, do you guys see the other potential people who were supposed to be cast instead of Austin Butler? There's
For
one-
Fade
one of you guys-
Routha?
Yeah. So they had
Um,
Barry Keoghan,
yeah.
Harry Styles,
Oh no.
and Robert Pattinson, which is the only one I think who would have
Yeah.
done as
Boy,
good a
would
job.
have cooked. Yeah.
Yeah. Harry Styles though?
That would have been so tough to watch. Like
That would have ruined that. movie.
it would make me like feel a lot of sympathy for him watching him try to do that. Be like, come on, man.
No, Austin popped off.
Yeah.
He fucking
no,
cooked.
he's
That was so good.
I love
Yeah.
him.
amazing.
I'm also excited to watch it in IMAX again because I didn't get a chance to see it in the giant fucking IMAX we have here. I think
yes,
I think you guys have the one near you is I think the golf museum, the World of Golf Museum or something like that
Think
is the
so, yeah.
biggest screen. So yeah, that's what I gotta go check out is just get my fucking face blown off by just big worm.
Big worm.
But yeah, thank you so much, man, for coming on. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Is there
No, thanks for
anything
having me on.
you want to let the people know before we sign off? Any plugs, any recommendations, life affirming just tips on how to live? Hair care
Um,
products. You got beautiful hair, man. It gets longer
thank you,
every day. I
thank you.
see you.
Buy Pattern for that. Pattern. Shout out to Tracy Ellis Ross. Her products are fucking legit. It's
Ah.
not just like a celebrity making bullshit. Like that
Nice.
stuff actually works. But the only thing I'm gonna plug is my letterbox. I'm trying to do. I don't know if you guys are like, you guys watch On Cinema at the cinema, the Tim Heidecker.
I
thing?
try to pop in when I can. I need to dive. I need to dive deeper. It's so funny.
Dude, it's insanely hilarious. But one of the guys on there, Greg, he did the 500 movies in 500 days, which I'm trying to do.
Hell
It's
yeah.
kind of insane. But yeah,
Holy
follow
shit.
me on my letterbox to see all that.
Are
it's
you mango
Swamp
emoji on
Duke.
there?
Swamp Duke.
Oh, Swamp,
Swamp
Duke.
Duke.
Man, you got good usernames all around.
Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Um,
And yeah, well, I'm trying to do 502 movies in 501 days because he did like 501 in 501.
oh, you're
so
trying
I'm
to one up him. You're trying to
yeah,
beat
trying to
him.
one up him. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So I'm at 99 right now.
Yeah. But
Well,
you gotta
no, I'm
gotta
at
just have it
97.
on. You can't be
Yeah.
watching it with attention because you'll never do it. That you gotta just like keep that shit rolling.
Well, that's why I have it like on Letterboxd also because like I want to like show that I'm like have I'm not just saying like I have something to say, but it's like actually like relevant to it. It's not just like I'm just like bullshitting watching it. It's like I can like read one of my reviews real quick and kind of like have the whole movie come back to me. You know what I mean? So I can
Right.
like
Yeah.
that's what
It's
also
like
it's honestly for me also.
right.
Kind
It's
of
like a
like
journal, you know?
yeah, exactly.
That honestly, I feel the same way about that because I'll go back and look at my diary entries from like years ago and I'll remember like, oh yeah, I went to see that at this theater, and like I'll start remembering things from like that time in my life from like a couple of years ago. It's a good way
Yeah,
to kind of
exactly.
track things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
love
I used to write them all
Letterbox.
down in like a journal, and I like keep losing the journals or like
Oh,
use it
with
for
like
something
on
else.
paper.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
were
yeah.
just
So
logging. That's sick.
somewhere in my house there's like a bunch of journals with like random movie reviews,
No, that's
and
what
I
this is for.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah,
That's why it's
exactly.
the best.
Yeah.
All
No,
right, man.
that's it for me.
Well, thanks again. We hope to have you on again soon. Drew, I also wanted to make sure we plug your Limitless episode on
Yeah.
Selenial Canon. I meant to do that last
Oh.
episode and I forgot.
Mhm.
So if people want to hear more Wabam adjacent action over on Zillennial Canon, you did a Limitless episode, the Bradley Cooper picture.
Oh, you don't have to tell the people. They know.
They Limitless is the Bradley Cooper picture.
It's
Yes.
the Bradley Cooper
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So people should check that out. And yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Please leave a review, subscribe, and like to our channel. Leave us a comment. Let us know your thoughts. Check out webotamic.net. Get every episode in your inbox every time we upload. Donate at patreon.com/webotamic to support the show. And stay tuned for next episode when we cover Forrest Gump.
Wow. Whiplash.
Yeah.
The whiplash from that to this.
Forrest Gump is next.
All right. And I'll close this out with this. I can't believe I forgot to say this at some point because I was so proud when I wrote it down about Interview with the Vampire. I wrote, so blood is basically their Soylent.
Yes.
Bye.